The Hitler Youth by Susan Campbell Bartoletti. Growing up in Hitler's shadow. Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode on the channel. Today we will be talking about The Hitler Youth, written by Susan Campbell Bartoletti. Growing up in Hitler's shadow. So let's get started. This will be a basic summary about the intro all the way to the epilogue, and then I will be asking you the questions. Okay, so introduction: the bloody handprint. The murder of Herbert Norkus. The murder of Herbert Norkus was one of the holidays that a lot of Germans celebrate in the Nazi times. There was this guy named Herbert Norkus who went all the way to spread out a few pamphlets, and then eventually he got attacked by a communist gang, got injured, and went onto the hospital. But along the way, when he just arrived, he died. There was a funeral. On his day after the funeral was called a holiday. And then, for the flag, we are ready to die. A lot of Germans now supported Hitler. Hitler was a political party, was a political person now, and he was like a chancellor guy. Now that he was chancellor, he was the second most powerful man in this world. This is Hitler. This is Hitler looking at the people in Germany. He told the people of Germany inside on some of his radio newses that they will eventually, that don't remember my children, that you will one day rule the world. In German, of course. And then there was this thing called the Brown Pest, which was actually the Hitler Youth itself. Brown Pest. The Hitler Youth was nicknamed the Brown Pest because they wore brown uniforms and they were sort of the Nazi pests. If you wanted to get in, you had to pass a special test to prove that you're a full Aryan and you know all the racial beliefs. And there was this girl named Sophie Scholl who went along, and she loved the Nazis at first in her teen years. Later, she started forming her own political views. She started thinking that maybe Hitler might not be right. Yeah, maybe Hitler might not be right. And later, she accidentally gave herself away by when her BDM leader asked for discussion topics, and she said, "Hey babe, some forbidden Germans." And they were like, oh! It was obvious that Sophie would now still be reading poetry, but she said, he who does not know Heinrich Heine doesn't know German literature. And then the Holocaust begins. This thing about the Jews is probably too much for me, and it's just a lot. First day of Jew persecution was getting boycotting their services. It just lasted, though nationwide boycott only lasted one day, and eventually they were ignored. Then Jews were robbed and stolen and beaten and sometimes stripped of their stuff. Then there was this new labor thing called the Reins labor. Well, where from now on, every student who graduates from high school will now have to go to 6 months of labor service. 6 months of labor service for boys. But then eventually, it was all raised all the way to girls. And then a year as the limit of time. What they did was drain a few swamps so that there will be useful stuff, or you would just build roads. You also had to donate a lot of things. And if you were a Nazi, then you were Hitler's body and soul. The enormous parade grounds just outside the walled cities for now. The Hitler Youth march all the way there. They conquered France. Germany's now conquered France. And let's skip a few years. All the way to the concentration camps. Jews were sent to concentration camps. And now nobody wanted their Jews, so they decided that nobody from Jews who are aged about 10 all the way to 1944 could not immigrate. The Germans now planned to use the Jews as slaves and the rest shipped to concentration camps for persecution and death. Then Hans and Sophie Scholl found out that they started questioning their beliefs. Hans and his group of friends started writing these little leaflets in secret, and he signed them the White Rose. It was anti-Nazi leaflets. And then Sophie joined the White Rose, and they went to the university and threw all those leaflets to the bunkers on the third floor. Then one of their Nazi pro person came out and found what Hans and Sophie was doing and said, "You're under arrest! You're under arrest!" Hans and Scholl could have escaped, but they arrested themselves and submitted themselves. Eventually, their friends were also submitted, except one of them, and they were all killed and executed. May 1st, 1945, Hitler suicided. And a week later, on May 7th, 1945, on May 7th, 1945, the Hitler Youth, the remaining of the Hitler Youth started protecting what was left of Germany's property, but it immediately gave up once the Allies came up. They would show movie clips. And all what they did, but in turn they did the opposite effects. It just took them a few years. To realize what they actually did. Then we get to the epilogue. Now, some of these children I told you about that are in this book are now still living. These children are still living, and if you can actually meet them right now, probably not because of COVID. Now, let's say if you were born inside World War II, what would you have felt? Well, I would have felt like I'd be scared, and except that I wouldn't because I'm a 3-year-old by then. But let's say I'm like 20 then. Well, I would have said that, hey, I'm 20, yippee, and I get a job. But if I was a Jew, then I would have gone to the persecution of the camps. But I would still have said I would have been a Jew because, well, I still wouldn't be a Nazi because it's kind of on the wrong side, and I don't really want to get killed in battle. Even though concentration camps means death. Or I might be a Jew in another state. And I might say that this book tells me I'm gonna say here that all these answers I just told you and my perspective, my answers are from the book. The book helped me think of a perspective inside Nazi World War II and a perspective into each other. If you read this book called Sun, then you might know what I mean. If you didn't, well, just read it right now. I pause this video and read it right now, and then come back to this video. I veered into them. I saw what those people were actually experiencing right now. I knew what they were feeling. I knew what they wanted to do. And yeah, I can even think of their thoughts. So that's how helpful books can be. And this one was especially helpful for my Nazi Hitler stuff and some videos of my Nazi Hitler. So this is where I will end this episode. If you want to answer this question, then please answer the question inside the comments below. There are now 2 questions. What would you have felt if you were a person? If you were a boy or a girl or a child at the Hitler Youth in World War II? Or you can answer this question. What was your opinion about this book? Or you can just answer both. This is where I will end this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next episode. Shunhan out. Peace!